two, 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 one, two, one, two.
Yeah.
One, two, two, two. Audio check. Two. Test one, two. One, two.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. Thank you for that. We're looking after it.
One, two. One, two. Audio check.
Tonight, eh? Oh, you got hot.
Well, we're there. Who's your team?
I don't have a team. See, I'm one of those. I'm a weird sort of anomaly. Yeah, bring it up. Yeah, I'm not into hockey. I just like football. I can talk about football, about the Green Bay Packers, but hockey, I can't get into hockey. What? Yeah. For now, yeah. Yeah.
Hello, Tyler. Hello, Ellen. Thank you for joining us. If it's possible to just rename yourself with your affiliation, that'd be super helpful during the Q&A portion. Thank you so much.
Machine. I'm sure it's real. It plugs the geek.
Hello, Mike. Thank you for joining us. If you're with the media, would you be so kind as to rename yourself with your affiliation? That would be very helpful for the Q&A portion. Thank you so much. Hi again. Mike, if you are able to rename yourself or if you do need assistance, please let me know and I'm happy to help you. Great. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it. Bonjour Frédéric, merci de nous avoir rejoindre. Si vous êtes avec les médias, s'il vous plaît, juste vous renommer si possible avec votre affiliation. Merci beaucoup. Hello, Sarah. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for having your affiliations. That's awesome. We'll call upon you folks for any questions that you might have during the Q&A portion. Just a reminder for all to use the raise hand feature and wait until you're called upon to speak, and I will unmute you, or you can unmute yourself as well too and ask your question. You will have one question and one follow-up. Thank you so much.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Ani Sego, what's going to Olados? Thank you for joining us this afternoon as we come together today to celebrate the Ontario Final Agreement between the Ontario leadership and the Government of Canada. And so before we go into the drum, the welcoming remarks that we have, I do want, we had earlier had a pipe ceremony, which many of you joined in for that this morning to bring us together in a good mind. And so I'd like to invite Perry McLeod to the podium to share a few remarks, but also to explain the ceremony that we did this morning. That was a part of our ceremony that wasn't recorded for the media, but we were all here to share that. So I think it's important that he share the context in which we have done this morning for those who weren't here.
Bonjour. Bonjour. Enzo Kadijnika, Shage Dodem, Bising Donjaba, Nishnawbe and Dao. This morning, we all gathered here in this space. We lit the fire that you see here. We smudged the room. We got the space ready. That fire that we lit, although it's small, is also a doorway. When we light those sacred fires and we sing those songs, we invite the spirits to come. Those specific songs, those specific prayers, thoughts that we have, that we share, go through that door, whether it's through our sama or just through our prayers. They hear that. And they come to the door. And some will come through that door. That fire is lit. That pwagan is raised. And the spirits will join us. They will hear that invitation. They will feel it. And they will come. And this morning we asked them to come. We asked them to come because of their own commitment to the work they did for us that got us here today. Because we are on individual journeys, but we are also on collective ones, together as communities, as nations, as human beings. And we must never forget our ancestors who got us to this place. And for those little ones that are coming, to get the space ready, to get everything done. Just like when a baby is coming into your home, they get the room ready, we get the spaces ready. And then when that new life comes, it will live a good life if we live up to what we agreed to. Because when life comes, we have a role and a responsibility to uphold. So we use that ceremony, we use that fire, we use that pipe, that pwagan, to be that doorway, but also the spirit that resides in that pipe, in that drum. They also come and bear witness to this. So the ceremony this morning with the pipe, specifically, from what I understand, from what I know, and there are many teachings of the pipe, that pwagan, is to solidify that agreement, that commitment. Not just the piece of paper that it's written on, but what is in that paper. What is in those words. Because there is medicine in our words. Whether we speak them, or we write them, or we text them. There is medicine in those words. And we must live up to that medicine. Especially when we commit to things such as this, when we are committing not just our own work, but we are committing our communities, our nations, our people, past, present, and future. It's important to make sure those words and that agreement is done in a good way. And so this morning was a part of that, just the first part, to set the stage. As everyone gathered this morning, there was a lot of visiting, a lot of talking, sharing. And then the sound of the drum, that song, that calling in, that vibration that draws us together was sounded. And we came in and we gathered. A conductor's role, from what I know, is to manage those vibrations, that medicine, that energy, the spirit, to help manage it in the best way they know how. So our job now that we have gathered, now that the spirits are here, now we are committed to this. And now we go through the process of, in the words that are going to be shared, the commitments that are going to be made, they have to be fulfilled. They cannot be empty. They must contain that medicine that we all carry. And that medicine will not only be carried by us today, but others that we pass these words and these agreements on in those new generations to come, they will pick that up and continue to walk with that. But our purpose today is to bring that together so that it can be carried forward. Oh, miigwech.
Miigwech Perry for that, and for again starting us off with the pipe ceremony in which he has explained to us and the significance that that has in what we are about to undertake this afternoon. I do want to invite Frank Cote to the podium before we begin the drum as well to welcome us to the territory.
Miigwech migo anon sa jibisan the name and the Sundabiton. Jiminito Jimigwetria Gabachikito on this Nabemia. Menandam no go can I give you one say snobby a king. A week I'd gone God always seen on a get up in the gardic. Yeah, but the nigga went down on her. I welcome all my brothers and sisters here. That's what we all are. Welcome to the Nishnawbe territory, which was never surrendered, our unceded territory, the Nishnawbe Nation. I'm pleased to be here to welcome you, and you're welcome anytime. I'm a residential school survivor. Frank Cody was my English name that was given to me. And my Indian name is Nishnawbe Zendowat. That's my family name. And in my language, I thank the Creator for giving me the strength to keep my language and not lose it from the residential school. And I was pleased that people asked me if I would come here to welcome you in the territory. And I do, and very much love my brothers and sisters. We're all family. So get on with a good business, and hopefully the day and the Creator has come down when he was asked to come and direct the people here that work together. Chimigwech.
I'll go, Frank, for that. And with that, I will ask the Akusas and the men singers to come forward to start us off with the water drum, and then following that, we'll go into the big drum.
I know, hey, oh,
All right, I want to go for the both of our drums this afternoon. Again, welcome to all of you. I'm Abram Benedict. I'm the Ontario Regional Chief, and I have the pleasure of emceeing this afternoon's event. And thank you, Miigwech, to all of you for joining in this momentous moment today. I do want to acknowledge all of our drums, our sacred items, the pipe ceremony this morning that started us off and setting a good tone for the important words that will be exchanged today, but also a very momentous moment and something that's so near and dear to each and every one of us. That's our children. Our children are our most valuable resource in our nations. And as we begin, we signify a change in our relationship between the government of Canada and our communities in our region. Acknowledge all of our leadership, our chiefs in this room. Thank you for traveling to this event today. Thank you for your patience. Our elders, our knowledge keepers, our community. Miigwech, Yamagoa, for your patience. This has been a long road. Ontario Final Agreement, the long-term reform of a program that's been having so much detrimental impacts to our community. It has resonated in our communities in so many different ways. Thank you for your patience. Today is about the beginning of the implementation, the Ontario Final Agreement. To those of you, our leadership in the room, and those that have joined us before, it almost sounds like we continue to say the same thing, right? We're celebrating this, but we're pushing forward this momentous moment. There's something that's extremely important to me as the Ontario Regional Chief, not only as I support the 133 First Nations across this beautiful region, the incredible work that we're doing together as nations, exercising our inherent rights and our jurisdiction and sovereignty. This agreement outlines a number of elements that support our communities, but one that's fundamentally important is the resources and the supports needed for our communities to advance their inherent jurisdiction over our children, over your children, and ensure that the community laws are supported, but also there to support your nations in protecting our children, your children. This agreement outlines that approach that embraces what our nations, our communities know to be the best for our families and children. Far too long, we have seen a colonial system that has told us what is best for our children, what is best for our nations. And that is changing. And that is why we are here today. This $8.5 billion agreement represents a transformation towards services that are compassionate, culturally grounded in our teachings, our language, our ceremony, and supporting our children, and advancing our community's self-determination for generations to come. For far too long, First Nations, our children, our families, our communities have been impacted by the discriminatory practices, the systems that were set out to do nothing more than to destroy our communities and our families. Today marks a shift away from that. We move away from those practices and processes that embrace our communities, our leadership. I know that leadership, all of our leadership in this room, our leadership across our region and across this country, are struggling in so many ways. The needs are great. But today signifies an opportunity, an agreement, where we'll hear from our colleagues, from the federal government, our other leadership in the room, from the Nishnawbe Aski Nation, how we are advancing and moving forward. This agreement supports our communities in exercising our inherent rights to care for our children through flexible funding models. Yes, it is a program, but the opportunities are endless around building our community laws that are designed and delivered in the root and rooted in your customs, our customs and traditions, our ceremony and our practices. We're moving away from a one-size-fits-all approach. We have foreseen for so long. The government tells us that this is the approach. This is going to work for you. One of the things that I realized very quickly as being the Ontario Regional Chief, not only we have a lot of great work happening in our region, but our region in itself is very diverse. And that's okay. And this agreement acknowledges the diversity that exists in our region. What works in the south does not work in the north. And what works in central does not work in the north. But through our best practices. We come together, exercise our jurisdiction, our sovereignty, and continue to protect our children in ways that you, as leadership and collaboration with your community, know will work. We have seen for so long the overrepresentation of our children in these systems. And at the core of this agreement, our Ontario final agreement, we will operate to have fewer children in care, fewer children entering into care, and those that do have to go into care for shorter periods, and ultimately reunification with families. Today's gathering is grounded in ceremony and traditions, as we marked with the prayer, with our drums and our pipe, and how important that is in this milestone together, as we share in the partnerships as this has been possible through the hard work and dedication of our team in our region, and the commitment from the Government of Canada to work directly with us to make a difference in our region, acknowledging how important a regional agreement is and how unique and distinct we are in this region. We know, you know what is best for your nations. As today, the implementation begins today. This marks the beginning of a phased approach. And again, as I started my remarks, I acknowledge each and every one of you for your patience. We have celebrated this a couple times now. Yes, it has taken longer than we wanted. Yes, there have some bumps along the way. But we are moving in the right approach, and today is that implementation begins now. But do not, I want to share this with our leadership in the room as well. There's a lot of work to do. This is an agreement that brings resources. It is not an agreement that lasts forever. But it is an agreement that will acknowledge the jurisdiction and sovereignty of our nations. And when the agreement comes close to an end, our leadership in this region will continue to advance to sign a new agreement, to extend that, but we have a lot of work to do. I do want to say that as we moved along this process, it's been difficult for many of us. We have seen a couple of our nations in this region have wanted to have exercised their jurisdiction over their communities. There's nothing wrong with that. I acknowledge those two nations that have put forward a different approach. That is why we are so distinct and unique. That is exactly why we needed at least a regional approach for our region, because we cannot have a national approach to something that is so fundamentally important in our communities, and our diversity is real. So I acknowledge the hard work that those nations have done as well, and their positions that they have taken. That does put me in a peculiar position, though, because my job is to support every one of the nations in this region, all of our 133 communities, exercising their jurisdiction and sovereignty as they see fit. There's nothing wrong with that. And we will support them however we can. So again, I'm so thankful that all of you are here to join us for this celebration, this momentous moment as implementation now begins on an agreement that so many in this room have patiently waited for, but also so many in this room have worked so hard on to ensure that we are supporting our nations across this region with the support of the Government of Canada in trying to ensure that we're working together. So with that, I'm going to now ask Grand Chief Fiddler, on behalf of the Nishnawbe Aski Nation, to come forward and say a few words. I better take a seat, don't I? Yeah, get your timer.
Oh, miigwech. I'm just so incredibly grateful this morning or today. First of all, to the Creator for giving us the opportunity to gather here this afternoon. And I'm grateful to all of you that are in this room, because I know that you also played a role in making this day happen. And so I just want to thank all of you for being here. I also just want to acknowledge our leadership. Some of them were able to travel, to be here, to witness this very important event that we're doing here today. There's also a delegation from Treaty 8, Grand Chief Sawan? Yeah, I'm not sure if he's here. Okay, he's over there. He traveled a long way along with his team to be here, and I just want to just let you know, Grand Chief, that whatever we can do to support the work that you're doing in your territory, we'll be there. You just have to call us. I think many of us in this room feel hope, that we are hopeful, that things will get better for our children. And I remember it's 10 years ago, in 2016, when the tribunal told Canada that you are guilty of harming Indigenous children, that you're hurting First Nations children right across the country. And I remember that very, very clearly, because it was true then. Our children were suffering. I remember traveling to Wapika that winter. And I just want to acknowledge the leadership from Wapika that's here. Chief Nishnawbe, Deputy Chief Alan Brown. After they had lost a number of children, 11-year-old girls, 12-year-old girls were taking their lives. And I remember going there to attend the funerals and just how heavy it was. And I knew then that we cannot allow this to continue, that we cannot allow our children to suffer. And so that's when the Nishnawbe Nation made a decision that we need to be a part of this historic case that was before the tribunal. And I just want to acknowledge the leadership of the AFN and also the Caring Society. It was them that started this fight back in 2007 when they went to the commission and then later on was referred to the tribunal. So I acknowledge their leadership. And it's very difficult to just try to stay focused on the positive on a day like this, because we want to celebrate the good. But it's also important to acknowledge the reality that many of our children continue to be subject to. The harsh reality of trying to live in a system that was never designed for us or for the well-being of our children. And to me, that's why I'm hopeful, and I'm sure you are as well, that this agreement represents a significant shift. that authority, the jurisdiction, the responsibility to look after our own children is coming back, that we are reclaiming that. And I just want to talk a little bit about this. Some people call it a cradle board or a tikanagan. That's here in the podium. My mom and dad made this together in 1970 and 1971, in the early 70s. My dad did all the woodwork, the carving, and my mom did all the work with the cloth and the beading. I can just picture them working on a project like this together. I'm sure they argued a few times when they were, but it's a beautiful symbol of how we used to look after our own children, how we raised and nurtured and loved our kids. And it left us in the 70s, in the mid 70s. My mom sold this to a nurse that was working up there. But it came back. You know, my mom passed away last year in March, but she got to hold it again. There's a picture of that I took of my mother holding, and just that look on her face, just the glow, is incredible. And to me, it's more than just a cradle board or a tikanagan. It symbolizes how we raised our children. This was our way of life. This is how we made sure our children were safe and felt loved and nurtured. But it was taken away. It went away for a while. But we got it back. And to me, that's what this agreement is all about. That we are taking back our way of life. We are taking back our authority and to be able to make our own decisions on what is in the best interest of our children. We have that authority now. And there are so many people to thank. I know Deputy Gwen Chief has a long list of people, so I'll count on him to make sure that we acknowledge our leadership, the people of Nishnawbe Nation for pushing us forward, our incredible staff at Nishnawbe Nation, our legal team. Julian is here, and I think there's some other members of his team as well. We also have a Chiefs Council, a committee in NAN on children, youth, and families. They're the ones that directed us and pushed us to make sure that the work and the agreement reflects the needs of our communities. And one of the things to me that is most significant that's in this agreement is what we call the remoteness quotient work that we all did to actually figure out what is the true cost of delivering a service, in this case, child welfare, in a community like Attawabskat. And I just want to acknowledge Chief Sylvia, the Tatawaban, Gustajan. We had a long conversation yesterday. Or in a community like Sandy Lake, because it's not 10% remoteness or 12%, it's way higher, significantly higher. And once these adjustments are made, once they're implemented, our communities will have access to more resources for them to not only protect their children, but to ensure that they have access to whatever resource that they need for them to, as I like to say, for them to grow up healthy and happy, because that is what they deserve So I just want to acknowledge all our partners, Chiefs of Ontario. Our regional chief has been steadfast in his commitment to this work, and the team at COO, including my dear friend Maggie. The federal government, ISC, it was Minister Patty Hyde that really pushed this. And I'm grateful that Minister Gull-Masty is here to help us push it through the finish line. And today we are crossing that finish line. And I think you all deserve a huge round of applause. So I applaud you and your leadership. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Grand Chief Fiddler, for that and reminder of how important that northern remote quotient in this agreement is to our region, and how important that is, and how much of a difference this will make to our nations. And again, to my comments earlier, there's a lot of work to do, and I know our leadership in the room know that. But we are going to make a difference, and this is going to make a difference in our communities, our family, and our children's lives. And so I want to invite Deputy Grand Chief Narcisse to the podium as well to share some remarks.
Thank you, ORC. Thank you, Grand Chief. And Jimmy Goech Kenweg Dinanem, Ninwin Bobby Narcisse Indigenous, Airland First Nation Dune Dri, and Winga Jimmy Goech Kenweg Dinanem, the Goodnishin Gainin, Gigi Chid the Badge Mong, Mohaka Chinoki, Tmoj, Bueno Jijik, Kenweg, Odanaka, Nishnawbe Aski Nation, Ajadawaj, Kenweg. I'd just like to acknowledge the drum, our knowledge keepers that are here, the pipe carrier, the water drum singers, and our drum as well, and to acknowledge the traditional territory that we are gathered to really witness this historic occasion. And also like to acknowledge the work that's been happening throughout these past 10 years, especially when we started the intervener status with the Nishnawbe Aski Nation. And I'd like to acknowledge the work with our counterparts at Chiefs of Ontario, with ORC, and also Grand Chief Joel Abram as well, the portfolio holder at Chiefs of Ontario, for his continued dedication to this work. Also our Chiefs Committee on Children, Youth, and Families that Grand Chief Fiddler also mentioned, who've guided this work through many years, and under various members of the executive over the years have carried this file, and the chiefs that and community members that really supported it. Also, many of our agencies that continue to work in partnership with us in terms of implementing this new phase of the Ontario Final Agreement. It's been quite the journey. It's been quite the journey over the past 10 years. We really acknowledge the partnerships that we have formed with Indigenous Services Canada and various levels of government to bring us to this environment and this area where it's a time that really reflects the change that is really required across Nishnawbe Aski Nation territory and Ontario as well. And I think it really echoes the work that we're going to be doing here in Ontario, in other regions as well. Because as we know, like, our challenges are very unique, requires unique solutions. And, we encourage other regions as well to really start making those inroads into addressing those longstanding challenges that are affecting a lot of our children, youth, and families. I too like to acknowledge Grand Chief Ivan Sawan from Treaty 8 and his team that are here to witness this occasion, and we're very grateful for you to be here, and also encourage you to work to your process, because what works in Ontario may not work in other regions. So I think that's the challenge, and we need to really acknowledge that uniqueness and diversity among all of our member First Nations across Canada as well. It's been my honor and privilege as well to serve in this capacity, working with our executive to move ahead with a lot of the work that's been very groundbreaking. And Grand Chief Fiddler mentioned the innovative work that we've been working in partnership with Indigenous Services Canada to develop the remoteness quotient. And I really can't stress this enough, because it is groundbreaking and it is very historic, because now remoteness is something that is really calculated. We always say that $1 in Ottawa is different than $1 in Attawapiskat. And with the changing economic climate, it is more so very important to really account for this aspect of remoteness across our territories, especially within the north. Acknowledge that our leadership that is here, that made long trips to get here. I acknowledge the plight of our brothers and sisters from Saskatchewan who are still evacuated and still aren't able to go home. And I was able to visit them a few weeks ago, and I see the challenges of their children and their families as well. And I think these are steps that we really need to acknowledge all the challenges that are facing many of our children in the remote north. And I know this is just the one program area, but I think it's a long time coming. We know it's not a perfect agreement. I know there's going to be gaps and challenges, but the most important thing is it puts our leadership, our community members, our youth, our elders in the driver's seat again to really determine what is best for our communities and moving ahead. And it's with, preserving our language, preserving our culture, preserving our heritage as well, and basically doing an environmental scan of what's available right now within our communities and how we could build on many of those strengths that we have. We always say our greatest natural resources are our children and our youth coming up. But when we see them still battling a lot of challenges with respect to suicide and not access to basic needs, those are challenges that we like to overcome. And I think this the OFA really provides that environment where we're trying to make those positive steps forward, where we're acknowledging the fact that the inequities faced by many of our communities, especially across Nishnawbe Aski Nation due to remoteness, are now beginning to be addressed. And the fact that many of our children, youth, and families have to travel significant distances to access services that are enjoyed by many of our brothers and sisters in the South. We're narrowing that gap as well. And how we're doing that is collaboration with our communities. Our communities are leading the way, and I think that's where we're going to find success. And I think it's a testament to what true partnership and collaboration really means. And I think moving ahead with the leadership of our chiefs and our community members, our knowledge keepers, our youth, I think we will achieve that goal of really lessening that gap to accessing services for our children, youth, and families across Nishnawbe Aski Nation. So I acknowledge all the work that's been happening with our technicians as well, our legal teams from both Chiefs of Ontario, Nishnawbe Aski Nation, also the technical support that we're getting from Indigenous Services Canada, and also the partnerships that we forged with our new minister here. And we look forward in terms of some of the next steps. We've, as Grand Chief Fiddler mentioned too, we've now crossed a threshold in terms of signing the OFA. But now the work continues. So we have visited many of our communities to really educate our leadership on the impacts on the implementation of the OFA, So we know that we need to have a coordinated effort to really start working with our First Nation communities to see how we're going to implement the OFA. Because many of our communities, especially not even across Nishnawbe Aski Nation, but all of Ontario, are in various stages of development and understanding of what the OFA means. And so that's where we want to work with our communities. We want to work with Chiefs of Ontario in partnership with Indigenous Services Canada to get that message out. What are some of the new changes and roles and responsibilities that are going to happen? We'll need to work with our agencies to come up with community wellness plans. So that is a lot of the work that we're going to be working on. And we look forward to many discussions. But we all know that change is hard. Change is difficult at times, especially with established norms and regulations that we have to change now. But now we're recognizing and asserting the inherent authority of our First Nations in this area. But in closing, I'd just like to say that I really acknowledge the day today. It's very historic, and I really acknowledge that the work that's happening at the community level, and all those champions right now that are unable to be here with us and perhaps are joining us online. I'd like to acknowledge many of those community champions and those new workers and those new band reps and the focus on prevention that's going to be a benefit to our communities. I acknowledge those workers as well who are at the front lines working with our children, youth, and families to improve outcomes as we move ahead in this new era. So with that, Chimigwech for allowing me to say a few words, and I look forward on the journey together to make services for our children much better in the future to come. Miigwech.
Yeah, I'll go Deputy Narcisse for sharing some remarks with us and highlighting some important elements around the Ontario Final Agreement, an agreement that we have signed with the Government of Canada. An important element in that is around, that I have continuously expressed, is the ability in our nation to exercise in our jurisdiction. But one element that the Deputy talked about is cross-jurisdictional. That's cross-jurisdictional between the colonial lines that the government has established, generally through provincial lines, and that barrier that has on our family reunification in itself as well. It's extremely important that nations continue to advance through their law development. I do want, when I speak about multi-jurisdictional, cross-jurisdictional, I do want to acknowledge my Grand Chief who is here, Grand Chief Lazor from Akwesasne, a community in which I helped lead for a number of years, but learned lots about multi-jurisdictional, being in Ontario, Quebec, New York, two countries, Canada, United States, and then the sovereign Mohawk territory of Akwesasne in the middle there. Extremely important that regardless of where our children are, regardless of where they're located in those colonial lines, why it's important that our leadership have the ability to support them no matter where they are. The Ontario Final Agreement has elements that help support that. There's a long way to go. There's a lot of work to do. The Deputy also highlighted the importance of partnership, how extremely important that is with our community partners, whether it be agencies, whether it be other delivery agents. But one fundamental partner that's extremely important in the work that we're doing here today is the Government of Canada. I want to acknowledge the hard work that Minister Gull-Masty has done. You'll remember that a federal election was called and we were pushing forward on our agreement at that time. We were worried that this agreement wouldn't get over the line before a federal election occurred, and what that meant to our nation. When Minister Gull-Masty was appointed to the Minister of Indigenous Services Canada, she's seen the value in that, picked up the ball, and continued to advance that. And we acknowledge that work and dedication that she has done, sitting at the cabinet table, advocating for us in this region, why it's important that this regional agreement with such a significant number attached to it in a time where the government is looking for money, and why that's important to us, and what that means, and why it's important that the government support transformation in our region for our children, our most valuable resource. And so it's with great pleasure that I ask Minister Gull-Masty to come to the podium and share some remarks with us as we celebrate this afternoon.
Thank you. Wajagam Shwe. Bonjour, hello. I want to thank you, Janaskum Noji Duksniag, Jaji Mama Widum Wicked, Ewaptamika, Jaji Mama Widab Team Duik and Denigana. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sitting with us. Thank you for sharing this moment with us to showcase that we are going to work together to move things forward with one another. I also want to thank the ceremonies that were held this morning. Thank you. Thank you for bringing your pipe to light this morning. Thank you to all of you for working together to show that we have the strength of who we are as First Nations people in this country. And that we are very proud of our culture, that we continue to exercise it every day. I think one of the first things that I want to share really is the concept of Jimamu Wijab Chimduik, which to me in Cree language really speaks to how we will work together with one another. And I think this is the pride that I had when I heard the ruling of the CHRT. The first person I had the opportunity to send a text to was Patty Haidu. She took up this work. She really took the initiative to acknowledge and see that there are many differences across the First Nations in this country. They're very proud of who they are. They have their own language. They have their own cultural practices. They have their own, relationships with territory. And for her to acknowledge that in this work was something that I was very proud to see that she undertook. We're gathered here today to really acknowledge the official start of the implementation of the Ontario Final Agreement on long-term reform for First Nations Child and Family Services. This milestone represents something that is profoundly important. First Nations children reclaiming authority over the care of their children and their families through services designed by First Nations for First Nations. This is a historic milestone. It is my honor, and I want to express my sincere gratitude to the leadership, not only that are here today, but everyone who sat around the table in a capacity to provide their thoughts, their compassion, their care for creating this pathway today. And I really want to acknowledge the Chiefs of Ontario, Nishnawbe Aski Nation, Regional Chief Abram Benedict, and Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler for their unwavering leadership throughout this process. I want to thank everyone who's been part of this journey. Leadership can be an extremely challenging space to be in. Your persistence and your courage to create a pathway forward for your children is one that I know and understand as a former leader myself is of the utmost significance to protect the futures of your nation. This agreement really reflects years of work and advocacy by First Nations leaders, communities, agencies, the advocates and families that are going to work together to build a system that is going to keep children connected to who they are and where they come from and to the communities that support them. I was really touched that Grand Chief Fiddler brought his family's cradle board here to share with us today. This cradle board, is a tool for families to raise their children. It is a tool where you not only placed your baby to keep them safe, but you placed your baby to keep them close to you. And, I was a mom who also had my son in a cradle board, so I understand the importance of this tool. I want to, also share that a cradle board is not just about carrying a baby. A cradle board is something that I see that represents love, that represents responsibility, and it also represents the knowledge of generations that is passed from one to the next. I see the cradle board as a tool that not only wraps your children in safety, but is one that also allows them to be continuously surrounded by their family, by their language, by their culture, and by their belonging within the circle. In preparing for today's ceremony, I really wanted to find a cradle board, the ideal cradle board, and I was very glad that I came upon it. Originally, I wanted to, be sure that I was able to contribute something to today's event. And when I came across this beautiful piece here, I was really proud to see all of the symbolism in it. I'll ask maybe Julie if you can hold it up and show, just show the audience the components of it. You know, when we're acknowledging the work of this agreement, we're acknowledging our commitment to taking care of children. One of the components of this cradle board is the back is made from birch. And birch tree is a very special tree. It is the one that regenerates the quickest after a forest fire. It is the one that is viewed as everlasting. It is also the one that I named my daughter after. It is also something that represents resilience. It also represents regeneration, and it represents a new hope. We know that our children carry the promise of our future, and the birch to me is a symbol of everything that is carried. Birch is used to carry water, used to carry us traditionally in our canoes, used to carry food. It is a powerful tool. I also know that this cradle is an important cradle because it has the symbol of a moose. And the moose, we know, is something that provides life to us during the hardest times of the year. It is also a symbol of quiet strength and endurance. And it is also something that carries yellow, the symbol of the morning sun, new life, new beginnings. And it is something that I want to ensure that it is understood that the work that we do is going to honor this space by bringing this cradle forward and joining it with this cradle that has been brought today. I want to also ensure that it is understood that in this position, I'm able to not only do the work for you as the Minister of Indigenous Services, but also show the importance that I also understand that culture is a huge part of today's event. This agreement is an $8.5 billion agreement. It recognizes that First Nations must have the authority to care for their children and that those systems must reflect the distinct regional realities, laws, cultures, and priorities of First Nations communities across Ontario. After generations, First Nations children being separated from their families, their communities, their languages, and their culture, this agreement now supports First Nations in reclaiming jurisdiction and exercising their inherent right and sacred responsibility to raise, protect, and care for children according to their own values and traditions. It will also do the work of supporting 130 First Nations and more than 60,000 families across Ontario. It will help families access support earlier, reduce the number of children entering care, and help children when intervention is necessary. Children will continue to remain connected to their families, communities, their language, and their culture. That is one of the most significant pieces of this agreement. Families and communities will have greater flexibility and a stronger voice in how services are delivered. I believe at the center of that process is really acknowledging culture, language, and identity. Cette entente est créée pour une approche juste. Elle met en place l'accent sur la prévention, mais aussi pour assurer qu'il y a de l'accès aux services dirigés par les communautés. The Ontario Final Agreement is a fundamental truth that First Nations communities know the path, the best way for them to raise their children, better than any government could. The agreement will roll out over the course of this year, and that transition period reflects a deliberate, phased approach designed to protect children with continuity of care and allow First Nations communities the time and flexibility needed to implement the new funding models and program changes. During this time, we will continue to do work not only with our partners with the Chiefs of Ontario, Nishnawbe Aski Nation, and the First Nations across the province, but we will continue to do this work across the country. I want to ensure that our mission and our role is to respect the commitment to bringing children home and keeping them connected to their communities. I'm very proud to do this work, not only in this part of Canada, but I'm looking forward to continuing that work across the country. I also want to acknowledge the presence of Chief Sawan. who is leading this file in his territory, as well as the other nations who have come forward to do this work with us. And I also want to acknowledge Prime Minister Carney, who agreed when I brought forward the recommendation to pursue regional agreements designed by and for communities across Canada. C'est un vrai succès d'atteindre quelque chose qui va rendre les services en place, qui vont être dirigés et qui vont être offrés par les Premières Nations. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. The only approaches that we can look to are those that reflect strength, diversity, and the rights of your nations. Today, we are here to celebrate your nations. We celebrate decades of tenacity and of refusing to not take no for an answer when it came to protecting your children. Today is truly a day of hope. It is a day of testament to how we can accomplish things together, how we can work together to showcase Jijimiu Mamu Wijapuchimduik. I also want to share today an excerpt from the CHRT, the decision that was rendered in March. One of the most colonial, patriarchal, and harmful mindsets espoused by Canada was that the government knows best and should make the decisions for the First Nations children. Canada is making a giant step to reverse that terrible legacy with the OFA, and it does so in partnership with First Nations in Ontario. Les seuls qui peuvent obtenir les meilleurs résultats pour les enfants, c'est des Premières Nations. C'est eux qui doivent faire ce travail pour eux. As a former First Nations leader and as a mother, I understand that lasting change happens when communities shape the way they serve and care for their children. It is the role of everybody in community to work together to raise their child in a safe space where they know and honor and respect who they are. Today, your nations are taking this responsibility. It's an honor and a privilege to stand by you and to see you do this work. In doing so, you are truly showing the entire country of what is possible when First Nations take the lead. Thank you for coming today. I want to congratulate you on your historic work, and I look forward to continuing this important work in collaboration with you. Miigwech, merci, thank you.
I'll go, Minister Gull-Masty, again, for seeing the value and understanding how important an agreement, a regional approach on this so fundamentally important program that impacts our communities and advancing that. We've heard the Minister talk about how important that collaboration is. And I can tell you that as the Ontario Regional Chief, our Leadership Council, Grand Chief at Nishnawbe Aski Nation, I want to acknowledge our Leadership Council, Grand Chief Abram as well, who is the champion for the social portfolio and advancing this work. I sometimes have the pleasure as being the regional chief of showing up and talking about all the great things that our teams have done. And this is one of those moments. But there have been difficulties, and we've had many conversations with Minister Gull-Masty, and she acknowledges the challenges that we face and is always committed, Grand Chief Fiddler and myself, in advancing this Ontario Final Agreement. And as I mentioned in my remarks, my opening remarks, the patience. This has taken quite long, and Chief Fiddler talked about how the discrimination against our children was found over 10 years ago. It's been a very long process, but we know that as we continue to work together, the healing that is needed this implementation starts today. We're here to celebrate that. So Yamagoa, Minister, for your commitment and continuing to work with us in our region as we work on this program and advancing things that are so fundamentally important to our regional leadership and our chiefs in our community. And so at this time, I'm going to ask we have a microphone that was with the drum. I need that to be energized. I do want to ask our knowledge keepers to provide some reflection and remarks. We'll allow you to either stand at your seat, or you can come to the podium. It's ultimately up to you.
Believe me, I understand. You know, I thought when a keynote speaker gets up, the cameras would be rolling here, but they left. The importance. Nevertheless, I'd just like to coin the phrase, I guess. Sometimes the longest road is the shortest way home. And it's been a long time, Grand Chief. When you were saying 07, I've been at this thing from the beginning. And sitting with the chiefs, grand chiefs, counselors, and with our legal services. And when I look back, I say to this that it's a remarkable and courageous innovation. And we have set the blueprint to move forward, which is all a good thing. But allow me to just talk about something here. I was at a meeting with the people from across the country. I was a national president then of the Friendship Center movement. And one of the ladies came to me, our board members came to me, and she was really heavy-hearted, tears in her eyes. So I thought, oh God, something's really wrong here. And she said to me, she came from British Columbia. She said, you know, Barney, I got to go home, with tears in her eyes. And I thought something really bad here. So I said, oh? So then she told me the story. She says, my son, his voice is changing. Just listen to this. My son, his voice is changing. And if I don't take him to the mountains now, I will lose him. That represents culture in one sentence. And so this agreement will allow us to continue the growth and development of our own cultures, wherever we reside. We will do the practices that are relevant to the people in our home. I think as we move forward, I also think of my life. Let me do this. Tikinagan. That's Ojibwe in my language. Tikina means to hold. And the nagan is kind of like the bottom, the thing that thing rests in. Tikinagan. But when you pick the words apart, Tikinagan is going to hold a baby. If we pull that word apart, as we move forward, we will keep our children. We will become the cradle board because we're the ones that are going to hold the children moving forward. When I became chief of my First Nation, my brother, my oldest brother, I said, no, what do I do? He says, well, Nishnawbe, you will look after your people. And he continued, and this one really hit me. He says, he said, you will own your children. That in itself is a remarkable statement. And so as we look forward and we look at this agreement, we are going to own our children. We are going to do what is best for them. That is all part of our culture. And I really want to thank the chiefs of Ontario, and I mean that, the chiefs of Ontario, every one of them who contributed to this moment. And I really want to thank as well our legal department, worked so hard to bring this to fruition. I attended, Minister, all the high-level meetings regarding this. And sometimes it was like a joke once in a while because people weren't listening, you know? It's a funny thing, you know, when you meet with some of the leaderships at the top level and you're sitting there as an elder and you know they're talking to our people and they're not listening. So then it got a little bit funny now and again. But however, I practice what I do, I guess, the best, just speaking the truth.
in saying, what's going on here? What's happening? Let's get on with the show, you know? So I did that as part of my work. I also like to acknowledge, of course, let me tell you this, just for a moment. Some of the people that I met when I got here is truly remarkable. The young man, Perry McLeod, that did our pipe ceremony, was a young person who grew up around the North Bay Friendship Center when I was a director there. He was in the children's program. Later on, Perry worked for me, childcare. Life goes on, and then I meet him here. The other young man that's to my left here, he was at the North Bay Center, and I got a fellow to make a drum for us. It was the first drum that we had in the area. A fellow by the name of Art Solomon made us the drum. And I gave it to those young people, and that's how our drumming started. And I meet many other people on my journey here. But what I want to tell you is the remarkable growth of our people when the opportunity, a chance is given. And that's just what this agreement represents. A chance for growth and development gives people the opportunity. There are many other stories that I can give to you, but however, we need to stop someplace, because we're getting hungry. So you know, the one thing I really want to do on behalf of the Knowledge Keepers and myself is to thank you, Minister, for what you're doing for us. You know what? We were at a meeting one day, and what happened is that the meeting went kind of a little bit sideways. And the minister told us, you know how difficult it is for me sitting in cabinet to be able to talk on our behalf, to try to get the agreement that we want. So it was great for you, good news for us, that we have an Indigenous person in this position and that's doing the best they can for us. So thank you. Thank you so much. Give us the money. Give us the money. Give us the money. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're such a wonderful person. Maybe we'll see you again along the way. Sure.
We have lots more agreements to do, don't worry. Miigwech, our knowledge keeper Barney for those reflections and also continuing to share how important our teachings and the reflections that and all the work that we do. So now invite our other knowledge keeper, Lucille, to the podium as well. Oh, Lucy, my apologies. I left my notes over there and. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Wajik, Miswe. I'm very honored to be here this afternoon. I attended the OFA meetings through Zoom quite a few times, and there were times when it just would fly over my head because I didn't really understand until I started to read up on it for myself to do a little bit of research. And I was still doing it last night. In the middle of the night, I woke up and I couldn't sleep because I was kind of nervous. And so I was online. Anyways, I just want to say, first of all, Miigwech, Perry, for the beautiful ceremony this morning, and as well as the water boy and the shaker, the songs from the Mohawk Nation, Miigwech, and also our drum, the drum, Miigwech, and for the beautiful songs. miigwech to everybody that's here. For those that are here, you're meant to be here. And for those online, I say hello to all of you online also. Miigwech wajik. So I did have some words prepared, what I was going to say, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the agreement, how very important it is for our children from babies on up. The agreement and the work that's going to be done is going to encompass the holistic teachings and the holistic health that's going to be done by the workers of the child care agencies. And it's going to, when I say holistic, I mean the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and also the physical. And that's a lot of work that's going to be done in those 4 areas of our children's lives as they grow up. Because initially back in the 70s when our children were taken away, they were taken away at such a young age, and their crucial age was, the child to up to 5 years old. We had children that young in the residential school system. So they didn't have the nurturing, and they didn't have the love and the safety that they would have normally received from their own parents. And we see the after effects of what happened, and it's still ongoing. So with this new agreement, it's going to make a difference in our children's lives and the families of those children. And I just wanted to say, I hope that the work continues with partnerships with Canada, NAN, COO. And the only thing I really, what struck me was when I was reading the components to OFA last night, it says the housing part where, this will address some of the housing issues that goes on in the First Nations. We all know that housing is a real issue in our First Nations. And there is such a huge, very huge backlog of homes that are needed. And how is a child going to be able to grow healthy in a home where there's, 2, 3 families living in one home? It's not very healthy. You can imagine what can happen in that home. So in my closing, I would like to urge the partnerships along with the government to continue negotiating for housing, for more housing for our families, for our children. Without a home, it makes a difference, and it just goes to show with our Saskatchewan First Nations, they've been away from their own homelands, and I know it's starting to take a toll on the families. So that is all I'd have to say, and Gishtabigwesh for inviting me and being here with you all today. Gishtabigwesh.
Thanks for all yeah.
Miigwech, knowledge keeper Lucy, for that. I was thinking about that song there, "Find Time to Leave Me, Lucille," and that's how it got included into when I was calling you up. So my apologies. I will not do that again. I do want to welcome knowledge keeper Wally McKay to the podium to share some remarks with us.
Watch ye, watch ye, watch ye. First of all, I want to thank the Creator for bringing us all together here to have opened a pathway for our leaders to reach an agreement after a long struggle. As an elder and a former leader, it is my position to continue to encourage and lift up the leaders. And this is just one part. The second part becomes another hard road. Disagreement it's not for us to fix colonial Euro child and family service system that has done enough harm to our children and families. Ours is to rebuild our families that have been decimated. I have now been involved going on to 58 years with our people. I have seen many things happen. I have seen the achievements that we have made over half a century. It's terrible to say that in terms of how old I am. But I've seen a lot of things happen. I've seen many tragedies. And today, I see a major milestone that has been achieved. Some 35 years ago, I was the first executive director for Tikanagan Child and Family Services, the first one to receive designation in Ontario. And I said to the chiefs at that time, this is just a stepping stone. What we need is our right to decide, right to control our children. Today marks that beginning, that we can rebuild our families. Because if we just repair a child and family service system and we have broken families, it's not going to make any difference. We have to invest in the families, rebuild them. And that's going to make us a strong people, a strong community, a strong nation, and it will bring us strong children. Our future is bright. Thank you very much, Grand Chief, Deputy Grand Chief, for all your hard work, Regional Chief. Thank you for, I will call her Ogamakwe, translated a government lady. But in reality, we call our chiefs Ogamakwe. And I extend you the same honor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, let's keep her McKay for that and the reflections and sharing that with us as we continue along in this path together. Not only in this area of child welfare, but as he's mentioned, the importance that the minister plays in our relationship and ongoing and supporting our nations. So I'd like to invite our youth as well to share some remarks, as we know that this agreement is so fundamentally important to our children and our young leaders who are joining us here today. So I welcome Summer Wabass to the podium to share a few remarks. Do you want to come together, as well as Sierra Guru?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Summer Wabass, and I'm a youth from Webakwe First Nation, which is a remote fly-in community 540 kilometers north of Thunder Bay. Today, I'm speaking on behalf of the Ontario First Nations Young People's Council, the official youth voice for First Nations in Ontario. I'd like to acknowledge the chiefs, the leadership, the knowledge keepers, and community advocates that have gathered today both in person and virtually, as well as thank the host nation for welcoming us to gather on your land today. As young people, we are often told that we're the future, but today reminds me that the future begins with the choices we make right now, and with remembering the past that brought us here. First Nations children and youth in Ontario have been waiting decades for this agreement, and our families have been calling for change for generations. Our leadership has spent years advocating for this moment. I heard, numbers of 50 just thrown out. And for our First Nations and their families and our children, their perseverance, strength, and determination should be recognized as we mark this historic milestone today. We also have to remember the harms that First Nations youth and children and families have experienced under discriminatory child welfare systems, a system that has separated many of us from our families, our communities, our cultures, languages, and lands. Today marks a step towards breaking that cycle. For me, being connected to community is what helps keeps us grounded in who we are. It keeps us connected to our land, our culture, traditions, and languages. Not everyone had the opportunity to grow up with those connections, and today, I'm thinking of those people as well. Even as we celebrate, we carry them with us and honor their experiences. As this agreement begins to move forward, I hope Canada remains accountable to its commitment to put First Nations children, youth, and families first, and to work in true partnership with our nations, our youth, our parents, our aunties, uncles, grandparents, and communities. This reform will help future generations of First Nations children and youth grow up feeling proud of who they are, connected to where they come from, and supported by their communities. The future is bright, and today is an important step forward. Miigwech.
Anikinoya, bonjour, hello, bonjour. Sierra Indigenous Matagami and Dojaba Makwa and Dodem. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sierra, and I am a youth from Matagami First Nation in Northern Ontario. I am honored to be here today speaking on behalf of the Oshkosh Council, who represent and advocate for the youth of Nishnawbe Aski Nation. First, I want to acknowledge and thank elders, chiefs, leadership, knowledge keepers, youth, family, community advocates, and all those joining us both in person and online today. Today is a day of celebration. We are here to mark the historical milestone of the Ontario Final Agreement, the moment where First Nations families, youth in care, gain a stronger voice, the power to make decisions about their future. This win is decades in the making. Families have been calling for change for generations, and today we see the results of years of advocacy, perseverance, and dedication by our leaders, parents, youth, and communities. The Ontario Final Agreement is not just an agreement on paper. It is a victory for our children and youth. It gives us the tools to shape systems that protect children, strengthen families, and ensure that every child in care has the opportunity to thrive in safe, loving, and culturally connected homes. Today is also a celebration of empowerment. It marks a moment where youth and families can participate in decisions that directly affect their lives. It is a recognition that we, as First Nations, know how to care best for our children, and we now have the authority to act on that knowledge. Let us celebrate the voices of our youth who will now guide the way forward. Let us celebrate the dedication of our leaders and communities who have never stopped fighting for this day. Let us celebrate our children who deserve nothing less than love, culture, and opportunity in every step of this journey. This is a day to honor the past, celebrate the present, and embrace the future. A future where our children in care grow up proud of who they are, connected to culture, language, and community. The Ontario Final Agreement is proof that change is possible when we work together, stand strong, and never give up. Today, we celebrate that victory and the bright future it brings to all First Nations children, youth, and families in Ontario. And as we celebrate this historic achievement today, we must also recognize the responsibility that comes with it. This agreement creates space for our communities to step forward and lead the healing for our families. For Too long, many of our children and parents were separated from their culture, language, and support systems. Today marks a step towards changing that story. Healing happens when communities come together to support one another, when we create safe spaces for our youth, strengthen cultural connections, and uplift our parents and grandparents, and ensure families never have to walk alone. It means investing in our people through mentorship, teaching, language revitalization, cultural programming, sports, and emotional support. It means listening to our youth to give them the opportunity to help shape the future they want to see. Our First Nations have always known how to care for our children. Now we have the opportunity to rebuild those systems in a way that reflects our values, our traditions, and our love for our future generations. This is more than policy work. This is community healing. This is about restoring strength in our families and creating futures where our children grow up knowing they are supported, connected, and deeply loved. Now it is time to take a step together, to do the work, to heal together, and to build something strong and sustainable for the future generations still to come. Miigwech.
Good job, guys.
Such a great job by our youth in providing their reflections and how important this agreement is to our youth in this region. I do want to ask our youth to help us at next part of our presentation. We do have some gifts that we want to provide to the minister on behalf of Nishnawbe Aski Nation, the Chiefs of Ontario, our Leadership Council, and so I ask our youth to come forward to assist us. Yeah, we should go to the front.
And my gold watch.
That's right.
I'll take it now.
Okay. Is this on? All right. We have some gifts that we want to share with the minister, but I do want to ask our pipe carrier to share a few remarks as well and the significance of the gifts that we have that have been sitting with the pipe since we started this morning before we do the actual exchange. So.
Bonjour. Anzo Kadishnika, Shage Dodem, Bising Donjaba, Nishnawbe and Dao. I just want to share a little bit about the gift of giving and why it's so important. Well, my understanding anyway of why that is so important for us. And we have a number of different kinds of gifts here. Some of the gifts are for gratitude, to thank someone for doing work. It's an acknowledgement. There are other gifts here that are going to be part of an exchange. And it's important when we sit or we gather to agree on something that not only are our words exchanged, but gifts are exchanged as well. And it's not only important to give the gift, it's also just as important to accept the gift, that reciprocity. And so when you look at or you attend ceremonies across Turtle Island, in every one of our nations, giving and giveaways are a big part of who we are, because we recognize that duality, that reciprocity that is needed to bring balance to things. So the gifts that we have here are gifts of thanks for work that has been done, an acknowledgement of that work. And there's been thought into those gifts, thought that has been part of choosing those gifts. I don't know what's in those bags, but we'll find out in a minute. And then we have these gifts that have been laid on the altar here that will be part of the agreement between the parties. Back in the day, it was my understanding that whenever we would sit nation to nation and there were agreements made, there were gifts exchanged to acknowledge that agreement. And these gifts had great value. And don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I don't mean monetary value. They had meaning. And as was shared about the baby carrier, the Tikanagan, that was historically a part of our Grand Chief's family. When you make a gift, you are putting your medicine into that. And those kinds of special gifts and things that we make, those helpers we put together for our children, we are putting our medicine in that. And so that knowing that the gifts that have been chosen, where there was thought put into those as to why those gifts are being raised up and being offered and hopefully being accepted by the parties of this agreement. Those gifts as well need to be spoken for. So we don't just hand them the gifts. We raise that gift and we speak, whoever the gift giver is, will speak about that gift and why that was chosen. And then the person receiving it will put their hand out. There was a time when we would, kind of raise it up a couple of times, like we're going to drop it in their hands, and then finally would drop it. We're not going to do that. But we will pass that gift. And the accepting of the gift is just as important as the giving of the gift. So I just wanted to share that and pass this over to whoever will take care of it.
Thank you. I also want to acknowledge the gifting of this Tknagen to today's event, but we also want to gift Ku and Nan for the work that they have done in this space. So I'll ask Grand Chief if he could come to this side just so I could present you with a gift on behalf of my ministry on behalf of Canada.
The gift that you're about to receive, it was handmade by a young woman. Her name is Cheryl Shagashi, and she is from Pekanjikum First Nation. She is a very wonderful, beautiful seamstress, sewer / beater. So with this, on behalf of Nishnawbe Aski Nation, this gift is for you, and I will give a teaching on it. But you're welcome to open it and see what it is. So when our babies were in their tikinogans, they would also have a bonnet. Now, when our babies are first born, they have what you call a fontanelle, which is a hole, under their scalp, and it's a very special part of who they are, that soft spot on their top of their head. And it has to be protected so no harm, or, you know, their little brother or sister decides to slap them on the head, so, you know, because they will be wearing their bonnet. But also historically is when, because our people were nomads, especially the Crees and Ojibways in the north were nomads, and they were always had bonnets on, even in the summer. They always wore their bonnets due to the mosquitoes and, you know, not to get bitten up, and as well spiritually, the part of their head that was opening, it was almost like a gateway, because they are so near still to the Creator, and it was said for them to wear their bonnets, that it was a protection also, that no harm comes to them while they were during that first probably year to year and a half of age, before the spaces connect. So that is why Nan decided to give a bonnet, and I hope that it will be displayed nicely in your office. So you guys, yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Ang ganda ko muna.
Sego, so guego. Danaguaza Dana Paddocks, Young Guts. My name means many medicines. I'm from the Bear Clan, and I am truly honored to be here today on this historic moment. I want to commend the chiefs and all the 133 First Nations that didn't give up. You know, over 10 years to sit and try to negotiate an agreement. It's hard, it's tough, it's painstaking, it's sad, it's very emotional. And I'd like to first present these moccasins to you. These moccasins represent that little boy who passed away 21 years ago, who started this journey for the First Nations, to fight for the rights for our little babies, our gifts. I wear this heart today for them because they are our gifts. The best gift we can ever get in the world are our children. So I give you those, and every time you look at them, you remember that little boy, and you remember the children that have gone on before us, those that are here today, and those that are yet to come. And I'd like to present you, this is on behalf of the Chiefs of Ontario, all the 133 chiefs. This rattle represents our culture, our language, our ceremonies, and everything about us as Nishnawbe and Ongwahonwa people, that we never lose that we always keep that. That's who we are. That's what the Creator gave us as a gift. And we ask the government to honor that, and that you can remember that every time you look at that. And Minister, I'd just like to say for you, you're in a difficult position. You're walking in two worlds. You're a Nishnawbe woman representing a government that has done lots of harm. But with the gifts that you have, you can explain to them, because you know, you walk that road. You've been in that road. So we're going to clone you for all of these agreements. so that we can get a lot more settlements like this. So I wish you well in your position, and Nyamagoa Chimegwech on behalf of the Chiefs of Ontario.
Yes, yes. I just want to also, I'm going to ask these young, beautiful ladies, thank you for sharing your words. I'm going to ask that you receive this from me. It is a gift that I wanted to be sure was shared in today's ceremony, and it's really a pleasure to hear you talk about your futures and to talk about your part. And something that you said really resonated with me. Today is not about policy work. It is about community healing. That was a very strong statement. Tsenas kumpna.
I'll ask that you remain standing. We're going to go to the drum to do our closing. I do want to just provide a quick reflections upon. No, just the drum. Yeah. I do want to thank all of you for joining us this afternoon. Again, thank you for your patience as we move towards this important time, acknowledging all of the work that has been done before us and why we are here today and the good words that have been shared as to why we continue to advance the work we're doing. I acknowledge the minister and the work that she's done for us, and as we together lead the way in supporting our nations and the great region that we represent and that we work for. And we remember why we do this work, our sacred items, the children that have not come home and the children that have experienced so much, but also to the smiley faces that we know are in all of our communities as we welcome, they welcome us back and why the work that we do. So Yamagoa to all of you and celebrating this milestone with us. And we have, as I said, there's a lot more work to do, and I want to acknowledge all of you for the work that you've done on this and sharing the celebration today. And my good minister and our youth who have received the gift, but also who have spoke so eloquently of how important this is and what we are doing together. So Yamagoa will go to the drum for a closing.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes today's event. If there are media in the room who would like to ask some questions to Honourable Minister Mandy Gull-Masty, you can come to the microphone, and following in-person questions, we will go to the online questions from media.
Okay, thank you so much. A quick reminder for the reporters online to please use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your screen and wait until you are called upon to speak and then unmute. You will have one question and one follow-up. And we do have one question from Mike Stimson from SN Newswatch. Mike, you have the floor.
Sorry, if we could just get everyone. Okay. Okay, sorry, thanks.
Oh. Sorry, Mike, we'll just hold on for one moment. Thank you.
Any of our leadership in the room, council chiefs, come on up for a photo.
Okay, everyone, we just have one question online. If we could just take a moment to get ready. I just have one question online from Mike Stimson from SN Newswatch. Mike, you do have the floor.
Hi, I don't know if either of the two people I'm asking can reply here, but my question was for Deputy Grand Chief Narcisse or Grand Chief Fiddler, and I'm just wondering if they could tell me about an instance of a community already making changes, that's already been making changes in anticipation of this implementation day. And that's what I was looking for, was whether somebody's been, whether, what communities have been doing to improve their systems as this new formula comes into place.
Yep, Miigwech for the question. I think it's important to note that our communities have been working very hard over these last couple of years to prepare for this day. that they are being set up to succeed. And there's a lot of work that's gone into recreating or reinstating the systems that we talked about earlier. And a good part of that is funding, which this agreement represents the OFA. And I'm glad that our elder, Lucy Long-Peter, touched on infrastructure, which is also a part of this agreement. You know, housing is a huge priority in many of our communities. Now, I mentioned earlier I spoke with Chief Sylvia Matarawaban Kustajan from Marawabska yesterday, and that's what she talked about. Just the homelessness, even within our own communities. You know, that she has to put a family of 4 or 5 into the hockey arena to live in the locker rooms. You know, that's the reality that many of our communities face, and that's to me, what this agreement represents is arming our leadership with the resources that they need to begin to address these long-standing issues that this broken system that we are now going to be rebuilding, what it represents. So I'll turn it over to Bobby as well to make some comments.
Thank you, Grand Chief. And thank you for that question. So there's going to be significant changes, and we're working with many of our communities. Like I said, many of our communities are in various stages of development and also understanding what the implementation is going to look like for the OFA. Because the OFA is going to mean more investments to existing also programs such as band reps, First Nations representative services. There's going to be significant investments in prevention. There's going to be significant investments in post-majority care. There's going to be investments in capital and IT and emergency funding, all these different areas. And we're working with each of our communities, and I know specifically many of our communities are making leaps and bounds. They hit the ground running. They're working on their child and community wellness plans that they're going to be have to coordinate with the agencies as well. So we at Nishnawbe Aski Nation, also at Chiefs of Ontario, are embarking on various information sessions. We're going to the communities. We know it's going to be a time of transition, and that time of transition is hard. But as Grand Chief mentioned too, we want to make sure that they're also prepared, and they're also given those resources to also prepare for all those changes and roles and responsibilities that will now be different. And that coordination and cooperation needs to happen between ISK, our First Nations, our agencies, and we're continuing to looking forward to the very exciting work that's going to happen, because it's not just protection. It's now in a new era of looking at ways to develop a program or a system that is reflective of keeping the family unit together. And what are those services and what are those prevention needs to keep the family units together? And those are the conversations we want to have with all sectors of our communities, our leadership, our elders, our youth, and our service providers as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Gull-Masty. I'll respond as well. You know, I think today's event is not just about, marking that we're going to be working together. It's also about really acknowledging that First Nations know the pathway that they want to create for prevention. The greatest tool that we have in this agreement is really prevention. And I've seen so many successful programs across the country in my visits. I've seen, some centers in Manitoba where they're creating safe spaces for women and their children. It's really a family unit approach. This agreement is not about recreating, a provincial child welfare system and empowering communities to do that work. It's about redefining this space. It's about incorporating culture. It's about making sure that young parents, mothers are preparing their babies' moss bags, sewing their babies' first moccasins, sewing their bonnets, sewing their mosquito hats, so that they understand the responsibility that they have, not only just for carrying life, but for taking care of that life. It's also about making sure that young men, as new fathers, understand the space that they're in and taking care of and protecting those babies and those young women. So for me, I really want to acknowledge, the strength that we have in cultural practice, the first rites that are carried out. These are very important times. We want to highlight and signal that when you are proud of who you are, when you are proud of the role that you play, this is the greatest prevention tool that you can have. It keeps children out of care. It makes children grow up feeling proud of who they are. We're also looking to support in other spaces in post-majority care so that we do not see young adults heading down the wrong path. Because one of the things that is alarming in this country is that when children start their life in care, very often we see them that they are ending their life in the judicial system. And this is a path that we want to make sure we are getting as many children off of. Lastly, I want to share that this really gives the opportunity to communities to really highlight and signal their connection to their territory. This is one of the things that is profoundly important, that those young men are getting to know their traditional territories, that they're embarking in hunting, fishing, trapping, cultural practices, to know that part of the safety and protection that you create is also about providing for your family to help them grow and to help keep a happy home. I know and understand and hear what was shared by our knowledge keepers and elders this morning. Housing is a huge part of that. Housing is a huge part of the work that we're doing. It's not just about building homes, but it's also about designing homes that accommodate the needs of families. So you're connected in community and you're connected to your extended families. That's a huge part of raising children.
Okay, thank you so much, Minister. Mike, did you have a follow-up?
No, I did not. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. This now concludes the question period and celebration. Thank you so much, everyone.